Yeah. Okay, anyway, the question was, in some of the sound effects, especially like at the end of the game, you play the big explosion, but the game goes ahead and ends before it finishes playing. Okay, so how do you stop that? Well, we put one way out there, but then the question that came out was, if you do it that way, that pauses the entire game. So if this is at any point in the game other than at the very end, it can cause some problems for you in gameplay. So I went and looked up and have some responses for that. And I postponed that question because I did want to get a chance to go look at this. All right, so I'm going to share just some notes I've got here, and I will put those also in the chat here in just a second. So let's see, it's this one right here. Let me share it. Okay, to make the game wait until the sound finishes playing. There's three main methods that I went out and looked and found that people use, and depending upon the situation, you will want one or the other. The first one is just to do a pause, but that's the one that causes the entire game to wait until the sound finishes. It may not be what you want. All right. So here's another one. It uses something called coroutines, and coroutines are a little bit different. At first, when I looked at these, I thought, oh, this is just threading. No, it is definitely not threading. Okay, this is something, well, it's a different image. So here's the idea that whatever caused it, you come in and you start playing the sound. Then you call or you start a coroutine. And a coroutine that's just the name of this. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. So whatever your coroutine is, you put it right there and you just say start coroutine, and I believe there's a space there. And so here's the name of your coroutine. What makes it a coroutine is the fact that you put the return type is IE numerator. So just add that and it becomes a coroutine. Now here's the thing about a coroutine. You can put a yield in. Now on everything else that's going on, we're coming through 120 times more than that per second. And yeah, okay. So when you put a pause here, that just kind of stops everything. But the thing is, that stops it only for one frame. Okay, so that can cause some problems when you do that. With this, when you're running a coroutine, you're doing whatever you're doing in your loop, you call the coroutine. The coroutine starts and goes to a yield. At the yield, the coroutine yields back to the main. Doesn't mean the coroutine is through. It just means this is a yield point in the coroutine. And so what happens is it does X amount and then it yields back to whatever called it so that the frame can go ahead and finish out and be updated. And then it starts another frame. And when this is going on, wherever the coroutine call is, it comes in and checks to see if it was through. If it was not through, then it does a little bit more, whatever it's supposed to be doing. And then it yields again. And so what that means is that you are stretching out this particular function over possibly many loops within the frame, over many frames within the game. And so this allows it to exist longer than a routine normally would. Normally, you stop here, you go do this routine, it completely finishes, comes back, and you go on. But when it is a coroutine, you call this routine and you let it run until it hits its yield. And when it hits its yield, it just pauses that routine, comes back, finishes up the original, goes on. Next time this is called, it comes back and checks on it again and does until this finishes whatever it's supposed to be doing. And so one thing on this is it has to be able to finish playing. This is called the lambda expression. Don't let it throw you off. For the game we're doing, our method one works just fine, which is pause the whole game because we're at the end of the game anyway. But if you're really getting into that, this is something you want to go take a look at. For those of you that have had, let's see, if you're in Java 2 or have had Java 2, we cover lambdas in that. So that's one place you pick up more information on. Anyway, and I've got this in here, and like I said, I'm going to attach this file so that you can just copy and paste this stuff. These are discussions of coroutines and how they work. Okay, so that one is a little bit funkier, but the example I heard on it was, say you have a player that when something happens, you want the player to slowly fade from color to black and white. You don't want it to happen instantaneously. You want it to happen over human time, like say 5 seconds, that it takes 5 seconds for the fade to complete. Well, in 5 seconds, my gosh, you're going to go through thousands of these loops. And if you put the whole fade routine in one method, then in one frame, that fade is going to happen. And so you won't really see a frame. You'll just see it go from color to black and white. So how can you do that? Well, you put you call a coroutine. And again, that's how you designate a coroutine. And in this, you can put a delay. Now, this one is waiting on the length of time that, as long as the sound is playing, we're not through. Essentially, that's what this says. And so this will continue on playing. Anyway, if you're trying to fade, then you can put a 1/10 of a second pause in here and have the player do 50 shades of fade. Sorry. Anyway, and on that, that will stretch out over 5 seconds if you put a 1/10 of a second pause. And the pause does not rely on how many times you have looped through, because depending upon how much work is done for each frame, the frame to frame time is not consistent. Okay, but this is run off of a clock. So you could say, all right, I'll start this when it's time to start fading. And every time you come through here, you wait 1/10 of a second and then tone the color down towards black and white a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's how you can get that to happen. So that's coroutines. Again, the problem we're talking about is the player sound starts to play. How do you make sure the sound continues playing until it's through before the game stops? So this is one method to use that will not stop the rest of the game. Okay, now here's method 3, and this is called an invoke. And you invoke and you call the name of the method that you want to do. And this after the comma is the length of time you want to wait before you call that. This is kind of like if you've got a game like Hot Potato and you're passing it around between various people, you can call the Hot Potato explodes on a random length of time, and it will wait that long before the potato explodes. Okay, so that's one reason for using this. There's some technical reasons that you would not want to use this if you're in a much larger game that gets updated frequently. Okay, the problem is the fact that the method name is within quotes. Any of the automating tools that will go through and say you want to change this method name to something else, well, your automated tools will not change anything that's in double quotes. And so that could cause a problem there. Anyway, on using this, there's a little video. By the way, the video has 2 methods in it, our method 1 and method 3. So that's what you can look at. Anyway, those are different ways of making the game be sure to finish playing the sound before it ends. So let me get into the chat now. Let's see, where did oh, there it is, it moved. Stop the share. Okay, now then I need to see chat. Okay, let me stop this recording here. That'll be a good recording.